Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon.
Morning again, everyone. And a shout out to everybody who tunes in and watches us online. So this local news station gets word that this woman that's 80 years old just got married for the 4th time. So they decide to interview her. In the interview, the reporter is asking about her life and, what's it feel to get married again for the 4th time at the age of 80, and a bunch of different questions. And then the reporter thinks and says, hey, so what does your new husband do? And she says, well, he's a funeral director. And he thought that was interesting. And he said, well, hey, would you mind telling me what the other husbands did? She said, well, when I was in my 20s, I married a banker. And when I was in my 40s, I married a circus ringmaster. And when I was in my 60s, I married a preacher. And in my 80s, now I just married a funeral director. And the reporter said, wow, that's so amazing. Could you tell me, why is it that you married men of with such diverse careers? And she said, well, I married number 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 4 to get ready, 3 to get ready, and 4 to go. And so, all right. I'm shocked you like that one. I just didn't think that was... Ever since I was a kid, one of the things I love to do besides laugh was I really enjoyed reading about inspirational people in their lives and the things that they did. I think we all have lists of people that we really admired for the amazing things they did. Some of the ones on my list include Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Stevie Wonder, Bob Marley, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Oprah, Shakespeare, Rumi, Maya Angelou, Leonardo da Vinci, Lucille Ball, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Jesus, Buddha, Paramahansa Yogananda, Jerry Seinfeld. He's a funny guy. Mitch Hedberg, Trevor Noah, Elon Musk, George Washington Carver, Socrates, and my mom. And these are people who did amazing things that inspired me in my life. And when you look at the things they did, there were a whole range of variety of skills and talents and abilities, but I'll tell you the things they had in common, number 1 is they were clear about who they were. They absolutely had a passion and knew what they were here to do, and they had the drive to do it, even in the face of resistance and obstacles and less than ideal conditions. They also knew that bringing out their best and doing what was theirs to do would have a positive impact on many, many lives, and that is why they wanted to do it. And finally, they were willing to do all the work that it took to make it happen. How many people also have a list of heroes, role models that have inspired you and people that you admire greatly? I think we all do. And how many of you knew that these individuals, some on my list and your own, were absolutely meant to do what they did? You knew that they were born to do that. How many people know that? And it's an amazing thing, is that when you look at all the different talents and abilities, it doesn't matter whether in arts or business or sports, they had genius and incredible gifts. That's amazing. But you know what else amazes me? What amazes me is, as great as these people are, how easily we believe and know that they were meant to do great things. And it's amazing how we sometimes don't believe that we are meant to do great things. It's easy to believe someone else is going to make $1 million. It's easier to believe that someone else is going to write that great book. It's easier to believe that someone else will be really hugely successful. It is easier for us to believe that someone else's life can make a bigger difference, that someone else will come up with that invention or that cure for that illness. We have such an easy time believing other people will be great, and yet we have a hard time believing that we can be that great. A hard time believing that genius is in us, greatness is in us, the magnificence and the ability to heal and to cure and to transform and to inspire other people. And so what we end up doing is hoping and waiting and hoping that we get a break, waiting and hoping that life gets better, waiting and hoping, that something good comes along, that someone will help us, someone will guide us, someone will take us by the hand. We wait for someone to discover us, some to do it with us, so somebody to do it for us. We believe that great things are possible and that great things have been done and will be done. We don't always believe that we are the one to do it, or we are the one who has what it takes. Kute Blackson, in a book I'll mention in a moment, wrote these words: "No one is coming. Really, no one is coming. The government isn't going to save you. Your parents aren't going to rescue you. Your friends won't carry you. No one is coming. Aren't you tired of waiting? Waiting for someone else to solve your problems? Waiting to be happy? Waiting to feel fulfilled? Waiting to live a life that deep down you know is truly the life you want? I have news for you. There is no need to wait, because you are everything that you've been waiting for. You are the person that you've been waiting for. The world is waiting for you. The question is, are you ready to accept full responsibility for your life, for your happiness, and for your purpose? Are you ready to wake up? Because the truth is, you are the one. This is an amazing and incredible time to be alive. Look at the amazing things that we have in our world, the technological advances and improvements. There's so many cool things. On your phone, you could call on your phone and see somebody you're talking to. You can watch movies on your phone. You could do all kinds of things. They got cars now, I think, that can park for you. They got all kinds of amazing technological things in medicine and so on and so forth. It's a great time to be alive. And yet, as great as a time as it is to be alive, that there are still people who are hungry. There are people who are alone. There are people who are struggling. There is more depression and use of antidepressant drugs and suicide and people literally feeling isolated. And while we have faster cars, we have less time. While we have more options, we have less patience. While we have more technology, we are actually less in touch and connected. That there are people hungry. There are people lonely. There is still conflict and prejudice, and there's a lot to be done, work to be done in this world. And the fact is, the world is waiting for you. There are gifts and beauty and talent and genius that you are here to make a difference, to improve this world, to make this world a better place. Kute Blackson was struggling. He wanted to make a difference in this world, and he was struggling. He felt lost, and he didn't know what to do, and he was feeling so unhappy that he was inspired to go to India. And when he was traveling in India, he went to Bihar, which is one of the poorest states in the world. And he went there, and he was traveling. It was the end of a long day, and he came upon this street, and there were some beggars there. And one of the beggars at the end was actually singing and chanting in such a beautiful way. He was drumming and singing. And he was so captivated by the purity and the joy and the devotion with which this man was singing. It took him a while before he realized that the man was blind and the man had no arms, he had no hands. And the man is singing with such purity and joy that it absolutely captivated. He was singing in a situation that you think things are missing. Sight, arms, hands, things you would think would be vital to a happy and fulfilling life. And yet this man is singing with such purity and joy. And Kute was so inspired that at the end of one of his songs, he was starting to take out money, wanting to give money to this poor beggar. And the poor beggar said to him, first he said it in Hindi, and someone had to explain. And he said, I don't want your money. I just want you to share your gifts with the world. Because who you are is a gift. And by not sharing who you really are with the world, you are robbing the world of something that it really needs. He said, life may give you what you want and life may not give you what you want, but you can always give life who you are. See, that man, even though he was missing things that would seem to be make a happy life, he knew he was the one. He knew he had it in him. He knew he was the one to sing that song on that day in front of all the people that were around. And he expressed it with such joy and purity that it absolutely transformed Kute Blackson, who speaks and travels to and speaks to thousands upon thousands of people every year. And the thing I really love about that is sometimes we think you got to do something huge to make a difference. You got to be president. You got to, find some cure. You got to do all these huge things. But the fact is, you just have to do what you're meant to do. That man in those conditions that looked so humble did what was in his heart and his soul was calling to do. And he did it so purely that he literally transformed, I'm sure, many more lives than just Kute. The fact is, there is greatness in you. There is beauty and genius and creativity. There are ideas, there are inventions. There's great things in you. Playfulness and joy and laughter and love that you are meant to share with this world, that the world needs and is yearning for. And yet we don't think we have it. We don't think it's there. We think it's actually missing in us. And the fact is, you are the one. You are the one that the world is waiting for. The question is, do you believe it? And are you willing to believe it and live from that place? So today we're starting a 4-week series on the book called You Are the One by Kute Blackson. And it is subtitled Finding Your Purpose, Discovering the Real You, and Loving Fully. And here's an interesting question. So why is it that some people could have a great car, great job, a healthy family, and not be happy? And why can a man be blind and have no arms and have pure joy? What is the difference? And I would say the difference is being connected to our soul and not being connected. See, sometimes we are so disconnected from our soul because our culture sometimes encourages us to become who we're not, to not be who we really are. Sometimes we don't ask the question, who am I here to be, but who do I need to be so people will like me? Who do I need to be so I will be loved or get approval? So people will be impressed, or how I could look good or fit in or seem successful. And it isn't always who we really are or what we really are about. And this thing about trying to please people and find validation and impress and look the right way and be what successful is supposed to be according to society, the underlying thing of having to work that hard to be something other than who we truly are is a belief that we're just not good enough. That who we are just is not enough. And even though we're amazing with genius and talents and greatness in us, we believe that we are not enough. You ever second guess yourself? Wonder if you really had what it took. I mean, have you ever just avoided or hid because you didn't want to look foolish? You didn't go after what you want because you thought you might fail or you might fall? We are great, but we don't always believe it. We hem and haw, we hesitate, we question ourselves, we doubt ourselves, and it's already in us waiting, but we just don't always believe it. You remember when God asked Moses to go to Pharaoh and tell him to let his children go? You know what Moses said? He said, no, I think you got the wrong guy. Not the one, not the one. And God said, hey, Moses, go do this. And he was like, no, send my brother Aaron. Send my brother Aaron. Go send somebody else. It's not me. That's a little too big. And then God finally said, Moses, stop beating around the burning bush and get your butt over there. Oh, you didn't read that version? That's the version I have. But, okay, not exactly, but pretty close. But how often our first reaction is, no, I don't got it. You got the wrong guy. Get somebody else, not me. And yet that greatness is in you. And so what do we need to do to awaken to the truth that you are the one? And to know that the world is waiting for you. You don't have to wait for greatness. It's already in you. The world is already waiting for you to open up. And so here's some things we need to do. And the first one, like I could say, believe that you are great. But sometimes going from 0 to 60 isn't easy. So what I say sometimes is just open a space to be willing to accept that might be the truth. It's a little more than the truth. Because the Bible says you are created in the image and likeness of God, that you are the light of the world. Do you know that the intelligence and the energy and the beauty and the love and the wisdom of God, you are an expression of that intelligence. You are an expression of that genius, of that energy, of that wisdom, of that beauty and that love. You are that expression. That is who you are, made in the image. You are an expression of that magnificence of God. No, you are an amazing, important, priceless creation of God. You are an amazing, important, priceless creation of God. I am an amazing, important, priceless creation of God. Let's say that together. I am an amazing, important, priceless creation of God. Take a deep breath. Turn to the person to your left and right and say, you are an amazing, important, priceless creation of God. Okay, you amazing, important, priceless people, pipe down. I'm on the clock. And so... and that's the thing. Is sometimes, my favorite, one of my favorite parables is Jesus and the feeding of the 5,000. There's a version of feeding of the 4,000, but people are more familiar with 5,000. But here's the thing I like about it. So there's a situation of lack, and what does Jesus do? In that situation, he blesses what's there, acknowledges it, but then he looks to a higher place, knowing that there's more, knowing that there are greater things, knowing that there's a source and an energy will bring it forth if we just look, not get stuck on the limitation. No, it's there, bless it, but then lift your consciousness to a higher place and know that greater things will come forth. Know that you are an amazing, important, priceless creation of God, and that God has a plan and purpose for your life. That more good will come to you if you just trust. If you're willing to open a space and lift your mind to a higher place and just accept that you are an amazing, important, priceless creation and that God has a plan and purpose for your life. There are solutions to whatever is going on in your life. There are greater possibilities. There is healing. There is love. There's all sorts of wonderful things if you're willing to trust and open yourself to it. And to know that it's already in you, but you have to open to it and to be willing to create a space and accept it. The next thing we need to do is to be able to start telling ourselves the truth. Sometimes we buy into some false beliefs about ourselves. That we're not good enough, we're not lovable enough, we're not this enough, smart enough, all kinds of things. We believe these unhealthy, untrue things about ourselves, and we let it make us play small in so many different ways. And then we don't allow ourselves to believe the truth about ourselves, and we play the game called I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want. I don't know why I'm stuck. I don't know if there's a relationship for me. I don't know if I really have what it takes. I don't know. And you know what? That's not true. The genius and wisdom of God is already in you. We just let our beliefs and our conditioning of other things stop us from letting us believe the truth. The fact is, if you want to accept full responsibility for your life, the first thing we need to do is we need to start being honest. And so ask ourselves some big questions like, what lie is it that I'm telling myself? Where am I not being honest to myself or being honest to my partner or to my family, to my friends or my work colleagues? What am I pretending that I don't know? What am I hiding from and not willing to face? And what am I not seeing that I need to see and not allowing myself to be aware of that I need to be aware of? You know, if we want to take our lives to another level of authenticity and clarity and intimacy and connection, being honest with ourselves is an important thing. And being honest with the people we know we're supposed to be honest with. You know, Kute had a desire to be a spiritual speaker. And he was the son of a Japanese mom and a father from Ghana. His father was a spiritual healer and preacher, spiritual advisor for two presidents of Ghana. When the second president of Ghana was assassinated, the family moved to London. And the father started a church, a very successful church. A lot of people there. By the time he was 8 years old, his father called Kute up to do a talk. Without any notice, he called him up. 8 years old, he said a couple of words. By the time he was 13, his father announced to the entire congregation that Kute would take over the church one day. That was the first that Kute found out was in front of 1,000 people. And he knew from that moment that that was not what he was born to do. But he was afraid to be honest with his dad. He kept pretending and going along with it for a number of years, knowing that he should tell his father the truth, that he should be honest. But he kept doing because he wanted his father to love him, not be mad, and he wanted to support the expectations of his dad. It took him 3 years, and because he read a book, interestingly, by Jiddu Krishnamurti. How many people have heard or read Krishnamurti? Okay, a few. And he, interestingly, was a powerful spiritual teacher adopted by some parents who were theosophists, and they wanted him to take over the church and to lead. And he did it for a while, but at 21, he dissolved the church and said, no, I need to teach and write and do as I feel guided and not affiliated with anyone. And if you know Krishnamurti's work, incredibly transformative. But here are the words that Kute read that Krishnamurti wrote. And he said this: in oneself lies the whole world. And if you know how to look and learn, the door is there. And the key is in your hand. Nobody on earth can give you either the key or the door to open except yourself. And so Kute knew he had to take responsibility and to tell the truth. And so finally, at 18 years old, he went home to tell his father that he did not want to take over the church. He called it the scariest moment of his life. He did the wise thing like any good mama's boy. He went to mom first. Mama, I got to tell Dad something. And she said, oh, I love you, son. What is it? And blah, blah. She said, I'll support you. He wanted to go to America. He wanted to not do the church thing. And so he told his dad. And he went up to his room and he told him, and he said, Dad, I don't want to be the leader of the church. And his father said, are you sure? He said, yeah, Dad. He said, are you really sure? He said, yes, Dad. And when he left his room, he left and he started bawling because he was brokenhearted that he disappointed his dad, that it wasn't the expectation his dad had. But interestingly, as he continued to run, those tears of sadness became tears of joy. You know why? Because he was liberated because he told the truth. And he felt more connected to the truth of who he was. So he felt freer, he felt happier, he felt more joyful. If we want to move our lives to a greater level of authenticity, to truly make a difference and experience levels of success and happiness, we need to be honest with ourselves, to tell ourselves the truth. And the final thing I want to talk about is to do this, we're so conditioned, again, to not be who we are. To be the way and say the way how other people expect and feel to please them. We do that. Sometimes, we agree to things we don't want to agree. We say yes to things we'd rather say no to. We laugh at jokes that we don't think are funny, except here. And sometimes, in families, you ever notice that people take on certain roles? Part of it is who they are, but part of it is, they're kind of shy. You get the shy one and the funny one and the weird one and the intelligent one and, the spoiled one, the good girl or the bad boy or whatever it is. And we kind of stay within the confines of those behaviors. And sometimes we're so conditioned that it's hard to break out and step out of that. There are more versions and dimensions of who we are, but we sometimes stay in that small, confined belief of what people think we are, and we've been acting at it so often it limits our ability to live a full and amazing life. So what I say is to live a more authentic life, sometimes we need to get reacquainted with ourselves because we've been so disconnected for so long, we actually don't quite know who we are still. And so 3 ways I think we need to do that. One is to, Kute does a thing where he has the people who go to India with him, he takes people to India to write their whole life story out on the plane. And why they write it, they remember, when I was young, I used to be interested in being a veterinarian. I remember in my teens, my dream was to get on a motorcycle and drive all over Europe. There are things that we forget about ourselves that are sometimes still in us and want to be given life to. So it's writing out, and then sometimes asking ourselves a question, so what brings me joy? What are some activities that I'm not doing or stopped doing that I really would like to do? Maybe it's about reclaiming a dream. Maybe it's about, asking ourselves, what do I need to heal, or what do I need to let go? What do I need to change? What quality do I need to embody more? So I think it's important, or what is it next for me to do? We need to begin to ask ourselves and get reacquainted with us. Through writing, through asking questions, and doing a little meditation is an important thing, because the more you connect with the God self, the more our higher self, the more we're aligned with the truth of who we are. And it'll become clearer what we're meant to do. It'll become clearer who we are, and what is the next step? What is the best thing? Kute had this dream from a guy living in London, a teenager with no job, wanted to live in America. He wanted to live in Los Angeles and be an inspirational speaker. He knew that since he was like 12 or 13 years old. And here he was at 18, finally putting his stake in the ground with his dad that this is what I want to do. And he had no path to do it, but he was clear. It was aligned with who he was. And amazingly, he was at the library, and some friends were asking, hey, what are you doing next year? And he didn't want to say because he didn't know exactly where it was going to go. But interestingly, after his friends left, a man that he didn't know just came along and put this magazine called The Economist on his table right in front of him. Didn't say a word, just walked away. And he thought, that's odd. So he's flicking through this magazine. He's just flicking, and in the back of the magazine, there was an article, a little statement, and it said, the American government is giving away 55,000 green cards in a green card lottery. Apply now. It sounds a little silly, but what are the odds of someone thinking they want to go to the United States from London, and then someone handing them a magazine, and it says that the United States is giving these green cards away in a lottery? Of course, he went to apply. They said the deadline date was September 18th. September 18th came and went, and 8 o'clock at night, no word, no letter, no nothing. And he thought this is what he wanted, and he was ready to give up. He went to sleep, and his mom woke him up at midnight. There was a phone call from a lawyer. He ended up getting one of the cards and moved to Los Angeles. His mom gave him some money, and his dad, and he moved. And the point I'm trying to make is when you say yes to the universe, when you say yes to your soul, even if it seems like it's not possible or you don't know how, the universe will move and make things happen. You will meet the right people. The right things will come along that will fulfill. The world will conspire when you are clear and aligned with your soul. We can all live amazing lives, that we are here to make a difference. And the fact is, it's already in you. You don't need to wait. Genius and greatness and creativity and ideas and your destiny is already in you. The question is, are you willing to accept it and believe it? Are you willing to be true and honest with yourself about who you are and what it is that you want? And are you willing to take time to align with it, to make that commitment to trust it and let Spirit in the universe work? There's a great life and a great world ready to be transformed and changed. And the fact is, you are the one. The world is already waiting for you. The question is, are you ready to be who you came here to be? God bless you all.